Hello, I'm going to show you how to alter some curtains, the length of the curtains, by moving the position of the header tape. And you're going to need an unpicker, pins, scissors, pen or chalk and a straight edge of some sort. So I've measured my curtains and I know that I want to reduce the size by 17 inches. So I'm going to start off by laying my curtain out flat with the header tape closest to me. I'm just going to smooth the fabric away from me. And I'm very roughly going to measure where 17 inches is. And I'm going to pin all the way along, just a bit further out from where the 17 inches is. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I know that this area of fabric is going to stay nice and flat. So when I reattach my header tape, there's not going to be any pleats or creases in it. And I'm just going to go back along the same line a few inches further away. Okay, so now I've got my 2 rows of pins, just keeping that area flat where my header tape's going to end up being. The next part of the process is to remove the existing header tape. So I'm just going to use my unpicker and start off at one end. First bit's always the trickiest. Much easier once you get started. Now the header tape will be folded under that first edge of fabric, so it keeps a tidy edge. So once you've got that initial bit done, it's just a case of going along, breaking the stitch, and this is the easiest way I find of doing that. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit and watch that. So I've been all the way along now and I've removed the stitching from the header tape. But before I remove the header tape, I'm just going to take my chalk marker and I'm going to put a mark on my header tape. I've just put a little T so I know that that goes at the top. You see that? The T there. So that goes at the top so that when I take off my header tape I know which way round to put it back on. And I was just thinking about why I prefer to alter the height at the header tape end rather than the hem end. Well, I'm not a professional. I've only learnt what I've learnt sewing wise through my time at secondary school, which was more than 20 years ago, and I don't feel confident that I'm going to be able to get such a neat tidy finish at the bottom of the curtain. I suppose I'm a bit of a chicken and I feel happier that altering at the header tape end, it's more forgiving. It's going to be pulled anyway, so I think it's just a lot easier. It might not be the right way to do it, I don't know, but that's the way I do it. So I'm going to get my tape, so I know that I need to reduce by 17 inches. So I'm going to find 17 inches, make a mark. 17 inches, make a mark. I'm just going to do that all the way along, okay? And then I'm just going to go along and draw in a line. Just on the lining of the curtain. I'll just do that all the way along. So now I'm going to position my header tape in its new position. So I slip my curtain towards me again. I've got my little blue T that tells me that that's the top edge of the header tape. And I've got my line that tells me that's where I want the top of my curtain to be. And I'm just going to position my header tape about 1/2 centimetre from my line. And at this end, I'm just going to overlap the header tape by, again, maybe 1/2 centimetre. You can measure those if you prefer, but I just do it by eye. So I'm going to position my header tape, and then I'm going to pin along my bottom edge. So now I've got my header tape and it's pinned all the way along this edge furthest away from where my top edge is going to be. And you can see I've got my 1/2 centimetre or so allowance there. And now it's time to be brave and to cut your curtain fabric. So I'm going to cut it about 1 inch away from this line. Again, you could measure it if you prefer, but I'm happy just to cut away. And again, this is just one of those reasons that I prefer to alter at the header tape end, because all of that is going to be tucked inside, so you're not going to see it. So if your sewing skills aren't at a professional standard, then don't worry, because it's all going to be hidden. So now I've cut it all the way along, I can fold under my cut edge and explain again why I've put these pins in along here under the heading tape. Because now I can be confident that the lining fabric hasn't moved at all, there's been no creep in the material, so I can be confident that when I hang the curtains, the lining material isn't going to pull the curtain skew. I'm confident that the lining material has stayed in its original position. So I'm just going to go along now, find my pen mark, fold it. I need to take those out though. Pen mark, fold it. So I've got my 1/2 centimetre top and pin it. I'm gonna get my line, fold it, pin it in place. I was going to do that all the way along. Now when you get to the corners, line it up, fold the corner at an angle, a bit like an envelope. You want to get that so that the crease is in line with your fabric there. I'm just going to lift it up, pop it under, and pin that in place. So now I know that I've got a nice clean corner there. Just make sure you don't catch your threads, otherwise they won't pull properly. Okay, I was going to pop another one there. Okay, so I'm just going to go all the way along and then pleat my other corner, but I'll show you that in a moment. So I've pinned all the way along now, and I'm just going to show you again what I do with this corner. So I've got my heading tape, which was folded over from previous, where I removed it in the first place. And my fabric is going to end there. A few threads there. So I need to fold this corner in line so that it can tuck underneath. So I'm just going to fold it like that, and then get my tape, tuck it under. I've got a nice sharp point on that corner, so I'll just pin that in place, and we're ready to stitch. So now we're ready to sew. I've loaded my machine with some cream thread. I'm going to use quite a wide stitch, and I'm just going to pick a mark on my machine as my guideline and start sewing. And in this instance I'm just going to use that inside edge. I'm going to run this, you can't see can you, this edge of my tape going to line up with the inside of my foot. Okay, and now I'm just going to do the same for the other side. I'll just go ahead and tidy up those ends and then we'll have a look. So that's done now. So got my two neat lines of stitching. That's nice and flat there where we took care to pin that in the first instance. So there you go. Just get rid of those ends in a moment. Saved yourself a fortune by doing it yourself.